You've been very high profile, slow marches, lots of events. We mentioned Wimbledon and the snooker and others. But would it be fair to say the star is slightly falling on Just Stop Oil?
Just Stop Oil, they're not going to stop until we get the government to make that meaningful demand to end new oil and gas, right? So regardless of whether or not the star is falling, we're still going to keep going because until that demand is met, we have to keep going.
Do you find it, I mean, maybe you find this frustrating, but is it not a little odd that there's, as far as I can tell, there's not a single government on the planet that agrees with you or a political party, even the Green Party, distance themselves from your endeavours? Is that frustrating?
I'm not quite sure that's true. There are many political parties who agree with the demand of Just Stop Oil. They may not agree with Just Stop Oil, but they agree with the demand, and that's ultimately all that matters. The Labour Party have said no new oil and gas, as have the Green Party and the Liberal Democrats and the Scottish Parliament. In terms of countries, it's a really good point. And I really wish there was more that was happening across the world. And the reason why is we can see clearly from COP28 being held in the United Arab Nations by an oil CEO with 2,456 fossil fuel lobbyists present, there's not enough happening because of oil and gas.
I mean, doesn't that show you what a joke this conversation has become? That they held the COP summit in the biggest oil-producing country on the planet, chaired by a bloke that runs an oil company.
I know.
Well, they're having a laugh at your expense, Alex, aren't they?
Sorry, say that again?
They're having a laugh at your expense here.
I think they're having a laugh at all of our expense, Ian, because ultimately the climate crisis is going to affect everyone. It's affecting us now with extreme weather events and more storms. It's affecting us in our energy bills by us not switching to renewable energy.
Well, we haven't got the we can't have renewable. We haven't got the renewable energy right now. I'm not disputing the principle of having. Well, we couldn't just suddenly flick to renewable energy and run this place, right? That couldn't happen.
I'm not asking us to. No one is. We have about 7 years of oil in reserve, give or take, depending on how much we use. That's more than enough time to have a fair transition to renewable energy. Right?
I think it would be fair to say, most places. I mean, look, if you say to somebody you can do this, it's much cleaner and it's actually cheaper, then who's going to say no to that? So, which would surely tell you that governments, well, they may. I mean, but they are also painfully aware. They're painfully aware that they are also having to diversify into other areas. If we were going to die, if the doomsday scenario, Alex, that you are imparting was really that bad, then everybody would be stopping it. You know, it took COVID, something like COVID showed us that governments, if they want to take robust action, even if it's wrong in some people's eyes, they can do it. The fact that we're dealing with what you would call the end of the planet as we know it, surely the fact that Rishi Sunak doesn't want to put his name to ending planet Earth, Joe Biden doesn't want to do it, nobody wants to do that, which probably tells you that maybe you've slightly overstated the doomsday scenario on this.
Ian, it's a really good question, right? And this is why so many people are not more frightened of the climate crisis and are doing more about the climate crisis, is because we've created this situation where everyone thinks, well, if it was really that bad, everybody would be doing something. And the reason why everybody is not doing something is because oil and gas companies have, for the last 50 years, been spreading messages about, is the climate crisis real? Is it as bad as people say it is? Is it going to be too expensive than people say it is? There are billions of pounds from oil and gas companies directed into these.
This is almost, Alex, that's almost kind of the idea that every world leader just bows down to an oil and gas company is, I mean, that's the stuff of a movie, right? I mean, they're no longer as powerful as Facebook is bigger than the global oil industry, for goodness sake. You know, they're not the kingpins of everything that makes planet Earth function. It could just be that you are fundamentally wrong or misplaced on your projections of what's going to happen to our planet. Have you ever thought of it like that?
I have, yes, but not fundamentally wrong, because we can see the climate crisis happening outside our windows at the moment. We had 40-degree weather in the UK, which has never happened in human history. We've had 33 million people in Pakistan being washed away by floods. And even if the climate crisis isn't as bad as we say it is, then we can still have cleaner, cheaper energy. We can still have free public transport. We can still have better insulated and warmer homes. These are all good things. Why don't we want
but the contribute, look, listen, I'm not suggesting, you know, we used to send people down mines and we don't do that any longer for many reasons, but, you know, it's no longer what it once was. Those industries, I think, will naturally change. We use, in this country, certainly, I don't know what the global figure is, we are less dependent on oil than ever. We have a world that is unrecognisable than it was even 10 years ago. We have electric cars. We have buildings like the one I'm in now, carbon neutral places. We recycle pretty much everything. We are green considerate in all that we do. I mean, the idea that we've sat on our backsides and done nothing is tosh, isn't it? I mean, because you would not recognise this place a decade ago.